Hashem told Avraham Avinu that he should leave the land of Haran and he should go to the place that I'm going to show you. And over there, I'm going to bless you and make your name known far and wide. So Avraham Avinu went to the land of Canaan, and as he came, there was a famine that was taking place. The reason why there was a famine was because Hashem was testing to see if Avraham would have questions in his faith. Hashem told him, you're coming to a land where you're going to see tremendous blessing, and over here there's a big hunger. But nevertheless, Avraham Avinu did not have questions in his faith, and instead he followed the path towards where there was sustenance. Now the place where there was sustenance was the land of Egypt. And in the land of Egypt, that's where everyone was getting their food from. So he started traveling there, and on the way, he recognized that his wife was extremely beautiful. And it says the reason why he recognized that his wife was extremely beautiful on the path was because they had a long journey, but yet nothing of the journey took away from her beauty. And being that the morale of the place that he was going to was a place where they were known for very negative practices, so Avraham Avinu told his wife like this: number one, I'm going to put you in a chest, and as we come to enter the land of Ephraim, if they don't see you, great. But if they do see you, then imri na chesiyat. You should tell them that you are my sister, l'man yitav li baburech, in order that they should do good to me as a result of you. And then I'm going to be spared. I'm going to be able to be alive. Because if they would find out that I'm your husband, they're going to kill the husband and take the wife so she can go marry someone else. So that's the plan that Avraham put in place. So the question is, why did Avraham care so much about the material benefit that it's emphasized first, l'man yitav li baburech, and then only later, and only later about the life that's going to be spared? And how is it possible that he would put his wife into such a dire circumstance only for a material benefit? So the Zohar explains that Avraham Avinu recognized that the livelihood of an individual is as a result of the merit of his wife. And it says in the Zohar that Isha Maskeles, a woman who's smart and a woman who has this extra level of understanding that women do, they bring tremendous benefit to the home, and the livelihood and the sustenance of the family is dependent upon the woman. So therefore, Avraham Avinu was telling his wife, by them taking you away, we're only going to benefit materially in a great way. And Avraham Avinu was confident in Sarah's merit that they would not be able to harm her or to make fun or to do anything that was negative in any way due to her great merit, which would stand for their protection. And furthermore, it explains that Avraham Avinu knew that Hashem told him that he's going to the land and he's going to be blessed. And blessed means he's going to have a lot of money, he's going to be wealthy. So being that he's on his way to Egypt and he sees there's a path through the natural way that he's able to acquire the money of the other nations, therefore he devised this plan in a way that he should be able to get that money and fulfill what Hashem told him. So that's the idea that the Zohar conveys about the wealth that comes to an individual as a result of the woman. Sarah was a very special woman, and no negativity could have happened as a result of the story. Now we know that everything that happens in the physical world also represents a spiritual idea. So on a spiritual level, it says that Avraham Avinu represents the soul, the neshama, and Sarah represents the body, the guf. It also says that this applies to Torah and mitzvahs, one seemingly more spiritual, intellectual, and one is you're dealing with the physical, material world. So a person could interact with the world in one of two ways. One way is that you have the primary emphasis on the soul. It's about learning Torah, staying in a holy environment, and you interact with the world, but it's only on the surface level. Another way of interacting with the world is where you are involved in holiness, in Torah and mitzvahs, but you use out every material mean that you have in order to further expand and extend the godliness that you're experiencing and that the world should experience it as well. And that's a much deeper level where you're involving the world and refining the world, thereby elevating it to its true potential and beyond. So a person could think that by being involved in the world in this way and in this fashion, it's possible that there can be some sort of descent in their spiritual standing or in the spiritual standing in general. So the story of Abraham and Sarah teaches us that the divine intention is that the body should house the soul and it should be interacting with the world in the lowliest of places, which is representative of Abraham and Sarah going to the place of Mitzrayim. And further, Chassidus explains that there's two types of love that a person could experience with Hashem. One is like a brother and a sister. And the second love is like a husband and a wife. A brother and a sister has an advantage that they have an innate love that's always there, it can never be interrupted, but at the same time it's not too passionate and it's not too intense as it is experienced by a husband and a wife, where there is the possibility for an interruption. So it's a great love, but it's more static, and even if it's felt very greatly, it doesn't compare to the love that's experienced between a husband and a wife. So it says the same thing with the Jewish people and Hashem. There's various levels of love. The entry level and the love that every Jew innately has for Hashem is the level of a brother and a sister. Now there's a higher level of love, which is like ishti, which is the love of a husband and a wife, and that comes through the possibility of interruption, which in the story would be the possibility of some sort of descent by interacting with the material world. But nevertheless, a person not descending in any way, but only reaching higher heights, and that helps his love for Hashem. And that's the idea that's conveyed through this story. Through a person interacting with the world, you reach a higher level in your love to Hashem and Hashem's love to the Jewish people. And that happens through a person interacting with the world. And this story is further conveyed with a story in the Zohar where there were two great sages who were walking and going to visit one of their fathers. And while they were walking, they said, let's speak some Torah. So the Rebbe's father, who was a Kabbalist, explains the idea that the story conveys in a way that there always has to be this entry level and this constant level of love that every Jew experiences for Hashem. And that is on the level of siblings. But then there's this higher level of love that you experience through interacting with the world. And that was exemplified in the story of these two Tanaim who were Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Abba, which they represent in mystical terms the level of wisdom and understanding, which you always need to have both of them. And through the understanding, you reach an even higher level in wisdom, which is this idea of a person interacting with the world reaching higher heights. And the way we saw it in that story was while they were walking, even though throughout the whole day they studied Torah and they were completely immersed in holiness, nevertheless, while they went for a short walk to go and visit one of their parents, he said, let's speak Torah on the way. And they recounted the story of Abraham and Sarah. And the Rebbe points out that the Tana's name is Eliezer. Eliezer stands for Lecha Avi Bezri, which means the father, the God of my father should be there to help me. And the idea that we learn from the story is that it's not enough to always have this entry level of love, which is like siblings to Hashem, but we have to reach this higher level of love, which is experienced through a husband and wife in our relationship with Hashem. And the way to experience that is through being involved in the physical, and while being involved in the physical, integrating it with the study of Torah, which Torah is a source of all blessing, and that helps you reach the highest of heights. And that's why while they were walking on the street, they studied some words of Torah. And through doing all of this, and that is through interacting with the world and having the neshama as the primary, but then affecting the body and then making the physical the primary as well, you reach a much higher level, which we will merit to when Mashiach comes, and that is, it says the body is going to sustain the soul, as the body has a very high source, even higher than could have been anticipated. So may we use out all the blessings that we get from this week's Parsha in a way of physically interacting with the world and imbuing it with tremendous spirituality.